Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you guys. I think I already see the first comments. Really cool. This episode will be a little bit different, maybe a little bit shorter even. I really want to focus on strategy today, on MSTR, and why I actually changed my mind on that stock. I always said I have rather pure Bitcoin. I only want to have pure Bitcoin and self-custody. But last week, Chase was on my podcast, and he was one of the many people actually that told me, hey, about strategy, about all the treasury companies. I probably had like 50 or maybe even like 100 people on at this point on my podcast that told me buy some strategy, Robin, buy some treasury companies. And funny enough, I mean, I even had Sailor on. Like I was at the Sailor 100K party in Miami, and so it was interesting for me to get through the story and get through all those things. So I finally last week I had Chase. How is his last name called? Palmery on from Acropolis, and he explained it to me. And you can literally the episode will be launched. I think this week. Probably will be this week, and so will be launched this week, and you can see how I don't know how it's called, strategy pilled during the episode. I think it's like, for people that know me, it's pretty clear. On that day after I got finished with the episode, I literally just went to my brokerage and bought some strategy on that day. I want to be very clear about it. It's like a very small position. I actually just dabbled into it. It's like not even 1% of my overall portfolio. It's like a very few, a very small position, and I do that because I want to learn. I want to learn more about strategy. So today I want to go over the process of like why I changed my mind on it, how I got into it, and how I think also about the risks and the management team and like the execution risk and all of that is coming with and owning a stock. Because before Bitcoin, some of you might not know, I was a big stock guy. I was into stocks all day long. Like I was researching 10Ks, 10Qs. I was actually starting with stock research when I was 18 years old, and I was still in school. I was sitting in the last row, and I was reading the 10Ks and 10Qs of Apple, Facebook, Tesla. Tesla was my biggest position by far. I even thought about buying some, but like I cannot do Tesla, man. Like there's some things wrong with it, I feel like. But that beside, I was always a stock guy. So now it's kind of like after 5 years of now it's 4 years of only owning Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin and stocks are now finally kind of converging for me again. Now let's see what the comments are saying here. Robin has finally seen the light on MSTR. Kinda. It took me a while, man. I feel kind of bad because like buying it so late, and I guess it's I'm still not fully into like I also have to disclaim that like I like it. It's interesting enough for me that I bought it, and I want to look really deep into it. I also feel like as a Bitcoin podcaster, you kind of have to look into it. Like it's almost like an educational thing that you have to do for yourself, but also for your audience. But it took me a while. I'm now almost in 11 days. My 2 years of podcasting is officially done. So like the first 2 years of the podcast. So just bought. Kevin Opa says just bought some MSTR this morning. Fun. Michael Saylor made. That's funny. I mean, I guess he would have made the offer already beforehand, but no, Saylor did not buy. I hope I don't get that many comments about that, but yeah, it's interesting. Tiago, see you in a while. recoup still a high risk? Yeah, absolutely. Like, and this is also something I want to look into with you guys. Maybe let's just quickly look into that before BTC USD. When we look into, like, first of all, we have to declare risk. There are two different kinds of risks. There is the risk of volatility, and so a lot of people confuse risk with volatility. I don't think that volatility is like by definition risk. It's just volatile, and Bitcoin is also quite volatile, and so that's why people say, oh, it's risky. But strategy is a stock, and a stock has risks that go beyond the risks that go beyond the volatility. But if we just focus for a moment about the risks of the volatility of Bitcoin and the volatility of strategy, we can see one clear pattern here. And let's share this with you guys here. So this here is the Bitcoin chart, and when we see the last 6 months, we're actually down almost 10%. And when we see the last 1 year, we are up 3%. So we are kind of at the same level that we are the last 6 months and the last 1 year. And the last 5 years, we have been up 400%. Now, if you look at the same thing with strategy, where is it? Is it here? Yeah. The last 6 months has been down 53%. So it's been down 53%, and Bitcoin is only down 10%. Then the last 1 year, we are down 50%. Bitcoin is actually up 3% in the last year. But if we now look at the last 5 years, we can see it not only has more downside, but it also has more upside, because Bitcoin has gone up with 400%, and strategy has gone up with 774%. And that's also how I think strategy will behave long term. Like, that's I should have made that disclosure, I think, right at the beginning of the episode, but I will make it now, and I'll always make it at the end of the episode. This is non-financial advice. Like, don't buy anything that I say. It's just like purely for my entertainment and for your entertainment. And so I think strategy could be like a nice amplified position to your position. Now, I might also research other strategy companies once I'm done with strategy. The same way I did it actually with Bitcoin. I started with Bitcoin, and then I started researching in all the other altcoins. I don't know if you can compare it like that. But then I concluded, oh, like, actually Bitcoin is the only one after a year of research. And so, yes, the volatility is higher. The volatility is a lot higher, actually. Like, if you look down, like the last year, if you own only strategy, you're now down 50%. With Bitcoin, you're actually up 3%. So there is this volatility risk. And then we've talked about inherent risks. With inherent risks, there is, for example, the risk of having a stock. The stock you don't really own. You have the risk of the stock brokerage, of like the only security is your password and username and all of that. While the Bitcoin you can have in self-custody, you can have a multi-signature setup. It's just something very different. So that's what I want to make clear. And I also want to make it clear, I want to make sure everyone that is looking at Bitcoin and strategy, that they are first dabbling into Bitcoin, because strategy is doing Bitcoin. And so before you understand strategy, you should understand Bitcoin. And so I really recommend everyone, like, Bitcoin should be the first kind of anchor point where you should pay the attention, and then more later on. So that's my thoughts to the high risk. Yeah, Robin is bored with the 45% volume of Bitcoin. I don't know. I might be bored, but strategy is definitely interesting to look at. Not so difficult. Kesa Murphy, not so difficult to understand that prefers which don't ever need to be repaid, which 10% dividend obligation used to buy BTC with an average CAGR of 30% and pro Bitcoin for all. Yeah, I I will not cover today the preferred stocks. I have to do more research on that. The preferred stocks also sounds super interesting. Like the preferred stocks is something that I very much want to look into, but I take my research quite slow actually, because I want to make it diligent and want to make it deep. Today I just talk about strategy itself, but the preferred stocks are super fun and super interesting. We'll look into that more. Rock, again, you're lucky to buy that $200, not like $400 per share. That's actually one of the arguments why I did it, and I want to list the arguments later on, because it being down so much, it having even dipped under 1 MNAV for a short period of time, I think now it's like 1.1, 1.2, something like that, was a huge argument for me, because I just looked at it 6 months ago and I was like, it seems expensive. But that's the same way as newbies to Bitcoin also say, like, oh, it seems expensive. Like, I don't want to make the same mistakes newbies to Bitcoin make with MSTR. So yeah, hi everyone, to Pam also. And Bruce Davis also says, once you get into MSTR, you're gonna love Stretch, I think it's called, if I say. And yeah, wow, yeah, let's move on. I completely forgot we have today something, as I always do in the beginning, but I forgot it today. We have to timestamp the episode. We have today the 17th of November, which is in block time 924,043, and today we actually have, that's crazy, we have never seen that while we have the live stream, the first time the exchange rate of Bitcoin is under $100,000 US, which means for just $1 US, you are getting 1,073 Satoshis, which is amazing. Like, think about how much 1,000 Satoshis will be worth one day, and you just have to buy it for $1. Really, really cool stuff. That's phenomenal. I remember when we started the live stream, we were at like 600 Satoshis per dollar. So now for the same dollar, you're getting like 30% more Satoshis, something like that. I'm bad with math in the head, but that's really, really cool to see and nice to look at. Now, before I want to get into my thoughts on strategy, I thought I'll just point out some videos that I actually seen today on my Twitter feed, and just like play them for you guys to have some context to what we're talking about. Let's share this tab. And this is from the Bitcoin Therapist, great Twitter channel, by the way. Tom Lee believes strategy will go on to become the largest company in the stock market if Bitcoin goes to $1 million. And we all know Bitcoin will go to $1 million, just a question of time. I really like this take by Tom, and I also loved it. And I think Natalie also, in her reaction, loved it a lot. So let's listen to it and see what Tom has to say.
Michael Saylor is changing the reality of the stock market. And the reason is that he probably will end up being potentially the largest company in the stock market, okay? Especially if Bitcoin goes to $1 million. Yet he doesn't generate GAAP net income to justify it. He's based solely on the value of his balance sheet. And
by the way, that's also, I think, where the big gap comes from. So his balance sheet is the 5th biggest, or maybe now a little bit down because strategies or like the Bitcoin is down. Maybe it's not a 6th or 7th or something like that. But it's like one of the top 10 balance sheets in the world of like all the stocks there are. And so when you look at that, you should be thinking like, oh, like then it's like a huge company. But actually, when you look at the market capitalization, so how the market actually values strategy, it has around the $56 billion market cap currently, and Nvidia has, I think, 4.68 trillion, something like that. I looked the numbers up before. This is an 82x NVIDIA, the biggest company on planet Earth, is 82 times bigger than Strategy currently. And then if you think about the possibility that a company that has, like, if you think about a Bitcoin world, which one will be the biggest company? Of course, the company that makes the most money or has the most money on planet Earth, kind of like Berkshire Hathaway today, or Tom Lee also brings an interesting example later on. And so if you think about what Bitcoin can do, and if you're really bullish on what Bitcoin will do in the future, Strategy is kind of a logical extension of that, of like the company with the biggest stack of Bitcoin will probably be the biggest company. And so I love this take by Dom here.
But that's not new to history, because when I graduated college, the biggest stock in the S&P, a top 5 name was ExxonMobil. And it was top 5 for 28 years, 30 years, like an entire generation. Graduated, worked on Wall Street. A top 5 name was a company that was only valued on the value of its oil, not on its net income. So like MicroStrategy is like replacing Exxon in lore, because, you know, for a whole generation, people said Exxon was the biggest company, but you don't value it on earnings. Well, MicroStrategy could be one of the biggest companies in the world, and it's valued on its Bitcoin.
Wow.
And I think this is actually a good point. I also, by the way, like I 100% agree also with you here, Michael, because I think 1 million is a little bit early. Like, it's like a 10x from here, and Bitcoin on Strategy is a lot smaller than NVIDIA, and NVIDIA also will. And if Bitcoin is at 1 million, like slowly those companies might be hopefully start buying some Bitcoin. I mean, as Tesla already did. This is also the only question that I have in my mind of like, will there be a huge company that has the courage and the shareholder base? Because I think the shareholder base is very important. Strategy, previously MicroStrategy, was very, very good in actually preserving the shareholder base and turning them into a Bitcoiner shareholder base. That's why they initially, with the first $250 million buy, offered all of them, before we do that, we buy your share at a premium. And so everyone that wanted to go out with a premium on their stock, they could have done that, and probably a lot did. And so they didn't want to have the bad shareholder base. Now they have the aligned shareholder base. Everyone in Strategy wants Strategy to buy more Bitcoin, and I think this is the biggest thing that holds a big move of like Facebook or Google, or like Alphabet it's called, I think Facebook is called Meta, and Apple and Amazon, all of them back, because they would need to align the shareholder base right now. In the future, when Bitcoin is more mainstream and Bitcoin is kind of like, yeah, of course you have it on the balance sheet, then you don't need to align the shareholder base. But we are currently still so early that you actually have to align the shareholder base. Now, if you look at what company could maybe do that, Facebook has, with Mark Zuckerberg, someone in control of a big enough company that could make a dent into how many Bitcoin they can buy, and the shareholder base could be aligned with Zuckerberg. So I don't know. I have a hard time believing that any company will ever get to the amount that Strategy already has, and the amount that Strategy still will accumulate, because we know most people still don't get Bitcoin. Also, most companies still don't get Bitcoin. It's only a few companies, I think like 200 publicly traded companies at that point, that get Bitcoin, or at least have some Bitcoin. Because you can make the argument that Tesla has Bitcoin, which they have, but do they really get it if they only have like 10,000 compared to like what they could have? So I don't know. It will be really interesting to see how this all shakes up. And X, I would love that actually. X and Tesla will be next. Will be really cool. Twitter X is the next Bitcoin play. Is there some news that I missed? Because two people now got brought it up. Could be actually, but yeah, Twitter X could be good. I mean, of course, like because Elon Musk is in control. That's probably why. But it will be interesting to see how it is moving on. There's, by the way, for everyone that wants to look into strategy, I wasn't even aware of that, so I wanted to share it for the few people that, like me, are also not aware of. There's a great website with strategy.com where you can find all the metrics, all the information. It's a great starting point if you consider researching about MSTR. That's really, really cool. Just look into that. Now, what are my thoughts on that? First of all, I do think once we get to the point, there are some black things in there. Let's move that a little bit closer. I do think the first point is very clear for me. If Bitcoin is successful, and I've shared that before already, if Bitcoin is successful, then the company with the most Bitcoin will logically also be in a very dominant position. And the company doesn't need to necessarily produce income. Of course, this would be great if MicroStrategy is not only having a great treasury company, but their business intelligence, like also developing, maybe they have some Bitcoin companies, maybe they develop some services and products, even beyond that, what they already do with the treasury company. But that's just a plus. So you could almost see strategy like a Berkshire Hathaway, almost, I don't like the term digital central bank. I wrote it down here that I think if you have that many Bitcoin, you can do a lot with that in the future that we didn't even think about right now. It's the same way as I think about Bitcoin right now. We don't even know what's possible with Bitcoin long term because I brought that up in an example in Amsterdam, actually on stage. When you think about the first 10 years of the wheel being invented. So the wheel was invented 5,500 years ago. And the wheel was back then invented and kind of was like discovered as like, oh, you can make that shape. Do you think in the first 10 years, the people that saw the wheel as an invention, as a foundational invention, thought of all the use cases that it can be used for the airplanes that use it, the cars that use it, the trains that use it, all the machines that use the wheel shapes in the engines, for example. So like there are so many wheels all across our industry, all across our things. The first 10, 15, 20 years, nobody thought about all the use cases. And for me, Bitcoin is a foundational invention that is on the protocol layer where you don't know what you can do with it if you don't know it. Even with the TCP/IP protocol, the first time someone came up with the TCP/IP protocol, they didn't have a clue how much it actually was transforming in 2025, decades later. And so in the same way, I underestimated strategy massively in 2020, 2021, what they can do. I remember being on a space and being asked, oh, how do you feel about strategy having now 100,000 Bitcoin? And what do you think, how many Bitcoin can they accumulate in the next 10 years? And I thought, and I literally said, it's probably somewhere on the record, I said, I have a good feeling that strategy might be able to get to 1% of the Bitcoin supply, so 210,000 Bitcoin at that time, or like still at that time, right now. This was just like 1.5 years ago, or like 2 years ago. Like this was not that long ago. It was on a Twitter space. Whenever I had strategy had around 100,000 Bitcoin. That's not crazy long ago. And now here we are, just a few years later, and they have over 600,000 Bitcoin. And I was so deeply ingrained into Bitcoin, and I completely underestimated it. And I think a lot of people underestimated it. I think a lot of people also saw it. And my point is just that I think most people underestimate what Bitcoin is, and with that, and with the logical extension also of strategy, we don't know what they all come up with. So coming back to my notes here, I think they have a huge first move advantage. They have 70% of all Bitcoin that are in the publicly traded company sphere. That's huge. That's massively. That I have a hard time, as I said before, I have a hard time believing that any company whatsoever can ever get to the point where they are currently. Now, I think strategy has a fair chance. It's not guaranteed. There's inherent risks with a stock, with the execution, with the management team, with Saylor, with everything that is included, that are inherent risks for any stock. But if they do a great execution, and if there's not any surprises from like a Meta, an Elon Musk, Tesla, whatever, then all of a sudden they are accumulating very aggressively Bitcoin, and it's a bear market, and all of a sudden they have like 1 million Bitcoin. I have a very hard time believing that anyone can catch strategy within the next decades of accumulation. So I have a very hard time believing that. Now, here we have NVIDIA is currently, and so if you think about the chance of that be happening, we also have to think about like what is the opportunity. NVIDIA is currently the biggest company, 4.7 trillion, something like that, and is 82 times bigger than MSTR. So let's see. And now, yeah, that's also the thing that I wanted to bring up before. I think now it was kind of a great time also. I got the epiphany at a great time, at a share price of not 400 but 200, where we tipped, I think last week even, briefly under 1 MNAV, which is crazy. So you get discounted leverage Bitcoin with strategy. Now we are, if you look back at the board, we had like 1.2 MNAV for strategy. And then one more thing I wanted to address. I strongly believed when I was in the stock investing before Bitcoin that I want to bet on the horse and not on the jockey. So for the few people that aren't aware of what that analogy is, the horse is the underlying business, the idea, how they make money, what they're doing, and the jockey is kind of the CEO plus the management team, depending on how big it is. And for me, the horse of strategy is extremely strong because they already have the Bitcoin. They already have a proven track record of what they're doing with the accumulation. But they also have an amazing jockey. And I don't even only talk about Saylor, but also about Fong. And so those two together, but especially with Saylor, it's amazing to have not only a great horse that is has a great business, but also the jockey is really good. So now I wrote down here a few things for you guys. He was very early into domain investments like Mike.com, I think voice.com he got into. Now he also has strategy.com and all of those things. So he saw clearly a trend very early on, bought them very, very early and sold them, some of them later on. Now he wrote also the book Mobile Wave with Google, Apple, Meta and Co. So he invested also in those companies early on. He saw the trend, and now also with Bitcoin in the last 5 years. So when I just look at who's Michael Saylor, I think his track record speaks more for him than anything else. Like even if you think about other investments and like how they see the future potential of people, like Michael Saylor has a great track record. And now for me, the cherry on top, is that they are not a pure play. So meaning they also have an underlying business model, the business intelligence. So for me, I completely discredit that, or not discredit, that's the wrong word. I completely don't think about that. I only think about their Bitcoin treasury, but their current business intelligence is still a profitable and revenue-driven business. And so they still get money from that, and they will probably get money from that for a very long time. And maybe they even develop beyond that more in the future. So this is for me just a cherry on top. If they stop doing their business intelligence tomorrow, it will not change my thesis around strategy at all, and it just keeps going like that. So just wanted to kind of point that out for you guys. So let's catch up with the comments here a little bit, see what they're saying. Guys, you're active today. Yeah, Bitcoin is the whole thing. Let's say yes. What is? Did I overlook something from iCast? I must say, MSDR was part of my most stupid move, and knew it, but got FOMO. That's I don't think it's even if you bought at the top. I don't think about it as stupid. If you only bought it because you got FOMO, then use this now as an opportunity to look deeper and see if you actually like it. Like if you come to the conclusion on looking deeper, and the educational journey gets you to be like, oh, I don't want to look into it, and I don't want to have a strategy, that's totally fine. Like I did that for the past years, and I wanted to always have Bitcoin in self-custody. But don't say it's a bad move just because you're down. Like just because you're down on a position doesn't mean it's a bad move. I can bring a lot of Bitcoin examples up, but maybe it hits harder when I tell you about my Tesla journey. I was a Tesla investor, and from a first around half year or year, I was down on my Tesla position. I forgot how much, but I was down substantially. So the first year I was buying into Tesla, and I was down, I think it was 50%, maybe it was 30 or 20 or 40%, but it was substantial for me. I really felt the pain. And the biggest thing is I was very young. I was like around the 20 years old. I think it wasn't, maybe not even 20 years old. I think it was still like 19 years old. So I had a little conviction. And even my father said like, maybe it's not the good investment. Newspapers wrote how unprofitable Tesla is and all of that. But then I didn't sold. I researched more. And so with researching more, you actually build conviction, or you saw that you made a stupid move. So one of those things happens. And if you get more conviction, you're actually like, oh, actually, I was right. Just the market has short-term volatility and it goes down. And then you can actually go deeper on it. And so if you feel bad about a position, no matter if it's strategy or Bitcoin or anything else, and for that matter, go deeper in the research and build bigger conviction, because then you have then you can actually hold through things. So this is holding through it probably makes a lot more sense, and that's where like you will be fine holding for the next 5 years. I tend to agree with that. Have faith, and I would add to that, study deeper, like go deeper and go deeper into the research on it. Appreciation in dollar terms is booked as income. Oh yeah, true. As per FASB accounting update. Yeah, that's interesting. Let me see what else is there. There's a lot today. Wow. That also, I feel like because I was a Warren Buffett fanboy, and I don't know if I ever talked about that, but I was a Warren Buffett fanboy for a very long time, and I invested according to his fundamentals and according to his rules, and those are very much Bitcoin rules, like hold on, don't sell. And all of those things, his philosophy around investing and his farm analogies, like they're great. The comparisons that he draws are great. And so I feel like he could be a really great Bitcoiner. but he has the incentives not to get it, or he might also just don't get it, or maybe like whatever happening, he clearly doesn't get it. And so yeah, it's interesting. But he, it would be fun to have him on. Let's see what else is in there. Yeah, I think that covers it about it. So yeah, let's move on. Let's see. I actually found also an interview. I thought like it's interesting to have at least like one video of Saylor also today in there, and that's why I wanted to show you guys this one here. And I totally agree with him here. And let's see what he has to say about Bitcoin and gold. Especially gold has been up massively this year.
First question, do you see Bitcoin catching up to and surpassing gold's market cap by 2035? What say you?
I do. I think we're in a Bitcoin. We're in the digital gold rush, and 2035 is the 0.99 year. That means that 99% of all the Bitcoin will have been mined in the year 2035. If you want Bitcoin, you need to get it between now and then, because the last 1% of Bitcoin comes out over 100 years. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind Bitcoin will be a larger asset class than gold by the year 2035.
100%. I just saw it, and it's interesting because we talk about the flippening. There's even a chart. I don't know if I put it in here, and I put it in here because also there was a small test is going on in a small central bank, in the Czech central bank. So the thing that happened was the Czech central bank has bought Bitcoin and crypto, unfortunately, worth $1 million for testing purposes. And if you think about central banks, if you think about what their stance is in the world, and so they basically are powered by gold, they're basically powered by fiat currencies. But what if they want to stay relevant in the new digital gold rush, as Saylor said it? If they want to stay relevant in the new time frame, in the new time that is coming now, they have to buy Bitcoin. And the Czech National Central Bank, I think it's the first one that directly bought Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken. They apparently want to stay relevant. And we asked that question last week also in Bitcoin Amsterdam a lot, of like, what does this actually mean for the first central bank as a test buy to buy Bitcoin? And also other cryptos, of course, they have to do that because they are central banks, so they have to test the whole class, even though Bitcoin is their own asset class, as also Saylor said. What does this actually mean now? Does this mean that this is the beginning of central banks getting that gold is old and Bitcoin is actually the new form of capital you have to accumulate? It's probably a small starting point. It's probably a starting point as Saylor bought in 2020 as the first publicly traded company. And now the first central bank is buying in 2025. It probably takes about 5 years, or maybe a little bit less than that, for more central banks to get in there, bigger central banks to get in there, and actually for that whole thing to continue to grow. And as Bitcoin, this is another thing that I came to know about through my podcast, as Bitcoin grows, it actually attracts bigger and bigger investments from other people. So actually, from my standpoint, if something gets higher in value, it gets less attractive. So if Strategy would now be already a $3 trillion company, it would be less attractive for me because it's not that far away from being the biggest company on earth. And then the whole thesis is like, oh, I get a lot more risks and not that much more reward than Bitcoin. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe I want to find something else. But because it's so much smaller, I want to buy it. But actually, if you look at the unlocked capital and the liquidity that gets unlocked with that, as Bitcoin grows, it actually attracts bigger and bigger portions of money towards it, such as central banks, because they won't buy in a big way if it's just such a small asset. They need it to be bigger. Pension funds, all of those, they have some rules with that. And so Czech central bank buying $1 million in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is a huge move. That is only a very small impact currently. So the huge move of that we'll only see in a few years' time down the road. What else can we say? Then this is kind of also related to that. This I saw it actually live in Luxembourg. I want to share this with you guys. We have here the finance minister Gilles Ruff from Luxembourg. Keep in mind, Luxembourg, very small, not a big country at all. It's almost like a small city in America. So Gilles Ruff confirmed at the Bitcoin conference in Amsterdam that the state funds BTC ETF investment is designed for the long term. He also explains the decision was deliberately made only for Bitcoin. There is no second best. And he clearly studied the Bitcoin community and what they want to hear, because he mentions a lot of the great points. Let's listen in.
We do not just promise, but we deliver. Our sovereign wealth fund, investing 1% of its assets in Bitcoin, is not an announcement to seek attention. It's already done. And while the fund's investment policy allows for an allocation in any crypto asset, it has chosen to invest only in Bitcoin. Thank you. Because, as Michael Saylor once said, there is no second best. And we're in it for the long haul. And let me be clear, Luxembourg hodls. We are still early. I'm sure that others will soon follow our lead. We do.
Yeah, and this is just, it's so interesting because we had now Trump, we had so many other people actually paying attention on the nation state on political level, actually wanting Bitcoin and speaking positive of Bitcoin. I just talked about that today with Stefan Livera because we don't have fights anymore. Everyone gets Bitcoin. Of course, we have our trolls. Of course, we have our negative sentiment. And the sentiment is very low. I've never seen that many negative comments about Bitcoin in my comment section, like forever. Like this is the biggest, the worst sentiment I've ever seen. So the fear and greed index is like a 10. And all those measurements, like my subjective feeling from all the comments I get from you guys, the fear and greed index, like the things when I've scrolled through Twitter, all point towards it is very negative currently. And we are sitting over 90K. It's really interesting because if you think about it, you think about 2 years ago or like 2022, we were bearish when we had a huge crash and we were at like 16K or 15K US dollar. And the sentiment back then was actually better than right now at 90K. And we have those fear and greed index always, and we are up so much, and we are negative. We're thinking bearish at around 100K US dollar price. It's hilarious for me. But what I really wanted to say with that, we have a lot of great news actually. We have a lot of great things going on for Bitcoin. And at the same time, we have a low price. No matter what you're looking at, if you look at the power law, we are under the line. If you look at any other model, if you look at on-chain analytics, what James Jack is always saying, like all of those things actually point towards a great opportunity for a dip. And then when we come back to the topic of today with strategy, because it dips more than Bitcoin, it's more volatile, it's an amplified Bitcoin, it actually, the opportunity is even bigger at that point. So this is really interesting. Then what else do we have here? this is live. This is literally me talking right now at 11 a.m. 46 at, what is it, Eastern time. And so you cannot fast forward. This is my only video once a week where I do a live stream where you cannot fast forward on where the comment is directly seen. What else is there? There is no second best. Oh, there's no second best content. Thank you, man. So we have a few more things, but honestly, I want to stick with it today because I want to stick with the strategy topic today, and I want to make sure that everyone understands this. I'm not all into strategy at all. Like, it's a small position. I'm dabbling around it. I want to make a comprehensive long-form video at some point in the future, diving very deep into strategy and my feelings. Right now, it's just like I want to share with you guys live why I'm doing and what I'm doing. The other thing is, I also want to dive into the preferred stocks and other treasury companies. I see it as a task for myself to research those things and to give you guys my honest takes on that. Because I've seen the last couple of months, or maybe even like 1 year, that whenever I talked about treasury companies, that I actually didn't had an in-depth analysis, an in-depth view on that. So it's kind of in my best interest for you guys to provide value that I dive into those topics. So with that being said, I just want to see if anything else is here. I think Robin is legit. He passed the smell test. What's a smell test? What do you mean with that? Oh, here I've also got one. Respectfully, the fear and greed is an oversimplification. Yeah, 100%. It's a massively oversimplification. It is not valid at all. But it is one small indicator that is always interesting for me to look at, because when sentiment is low, this, like, the fear and greed index just means low sentiment or high sentiment, in my opinion. And I see it in my comments. 3-4 months ago, I got all those positive comments when we hit the all-time high. Everyone said, like, oh, it's huge, it's going up, it's doing really good, like Bitcoin forever and all of that. And now I'm getting all those negative comments, sometimes for the same people. And I think this is just like one interesting way to look at it, where it is negative, it is a little bit down, and this is just means low sentiment, the fear and greed index being more at fear. For me, it's just like one more indication, and also the on-chain analysis from Check on Chain, James Check, on Power Law also, and all those things combined is like, yeah, it's probably a good time to buy. But honestly, I earn Bitcoin. I haven't bought Bitcoins in 6 months. I earn Bitcoin directly, and I spend it, I sell it, and I use it as money, but I didn't buy it. I just like earn it every single month. And so I would buy Bitcoin at high levels. I would buy Bitcoin at low levels, because everything under $1 million is for me a Bitcoin steal. So that's maybe a kind of a different kind of answer to that. So yeah, with that, it's been a little bit of shorter today, strategy focused. I have to get going also. And I thank you so much for looking by. And as always, I'll be back next Monday again at 11 a.m. Eastern time and 5 p.m. Central European time, and whatever in other time zone this is. So bye-bye, and thank you so much. All the best. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.